they're going to talk about the Community Emergency Response Team and what they're doing for Seminole. And I will give it over to you, Ray. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sure everybody's glad to be inside with the AC, correct?
Yes.
Well, thanks for inviting me here tonight. I hope we have a chance to enlighten you about one of Seminole's disaster response teams. You all basically saw my bio, I think, in advertising, and I'm almost a little embarrassed about everything that's in there, type of thing. And thanks, Christine, for introducing our original treasurer, actually Tom Barnhorn, so they decided they couldn't do both, and our past president, Ryan Episcopo, and Abe Azar was one of our original membership committee coordinators, type thing. So these folks here help out. Touching on a little bit on the bio, consider myself a long-term. Although when I think about what I'm in the building I'm in, I've lived here like 34 years in Seminole, actually in the same house. You know, we kept saying we're going to move, we never moved. And I've been married to my wife for 41 years. She actually was a previous city clerk in Seminole. I dragged her here from Arizona, so she'll hold that against me all the time. I have 2 kids, a son who's my superstar, they always are, right? And a daughter who's my princess. And then I have 4 grandchildren that like to spoil and give back. And that's what we all like to do, right? So a Navy veteran, and I got my associate degree and a draft notice in the same week. So I knew where I was going for a little while, and I actually joined the Navy instead. So if you do the math, when was the last time there was a draft? You know what I mean? So that's a young man. I'm a soccer nut. I was a player, a referee, and a coach, and now I live through my son and my grandson type of thing. I got involved in CERT because after retiring, when we retire, we got to do something, right? Well, I got involved with the city at the Citizens Academy. I think a lot of you have gone through that program. Very, very enlightening. I'm hoping they're going to get a chance to go again. And if you get a chance to be part of that, there's a lot that this city does with us in that small building. It's incredible, everything that they have there. I'm a lunchtime mentor. I have a chance to go. I've been at Anona. I've been at Seminole High School. I'm now at Oakhurst Elementary. And what was the other one? It escapes me. So, pardon? No, I haven't been at Bauer. Have not been at Bauer, sorry. Haven't done Bauer. So that was very interesting. I got involved in CERT because I was told that we're not ready for hurricanes. And really, when you think about it, at times we're not. So I took it for myself. But then I became very interested, became a founding member like Tom, and then now I'm in my second term as president. So basically, in retirement, you try to give back, right? You take while you're working, and now it's time to give back. So one of the things I'm looking at doing is in November, I'm looking at running for council. So I'm hoping I can look for support there. So had a chance to do introductions, had a chance to talk. So obviously when you talk on the subject, you want to try to address the 4 whys and an H type of thing. And basically what I'm trying to do is I'll print information that hopefully will get you to want to ask questions. So, as Christine said, what is CERT? It stands for Community Emergency Response Team, and it's basically linked to FEMA, and it's part of their preparedness branch of the activities. Thank you. Like all of you, we're volunteers, but we are volunteers that are trained in hazard and emergency response. And the key thing to note there is that there are over 2,700 CERT teams just like ours around the country, okay, with over 600,000 members that are trained and ready to support. We're a supplemental group. We're not first responders. Make that clear right away. We're not first responders, although we may be actually first on the scene. But we're there until a professional responder can come on. So we basically try to provide 3 services. We look to increase the community's ability to prepare and cope with emergencies and disasters. Because I can tell you right now, in the neighborhood I live in, they don't seem to know what I do. But if there's a hurricane, I can't leave. They know Ray wears one of those funny yellow shirts, and if he doesn't know what's going on, he'll get somebody type thing. So it's very interesting. Our focus basically is to increase awareness on personal safety, fire prevention, storm readiness, and hazard mitigation. And we basically look to, we're part of the fire department, So we basically look to try to enhance the capabilities, the readiness of the Seminole Fire, and they're our sponsor. So what can we do and we can't do? On the can-do side of it, we're a support team, like I talked about earlier. We support the fire department and the county's emergency management. We do this before, during, and after an emergency or disaster hits. And the other thing we do is educate, like we're here tonight. We're trying to educate the community on the purchase and the importance of emergency preparedness. On the can't side of it, basically we do nothing beyond our training. We're safe if we do nothing beyond our training, and every profession is that same way when you think about it. So basically we do not suppress large fires. We do not enter dangerous structures. We do not perform hazard mat cleanup, and we do not self-deploy. The fire chief actually deploys us, okay? And we'll talk a little bit later about where we deploy type activities. So if we do this, we need some protection, don't we? So we're basically protected because, number one, in two ways. The Good Sam Act, a lot of you are aware about the Good Sam Act. Basically, we can provide care in an emergency because we're trained, and because of our training, we're immune from any type of liability. And also, there was a Volunteer Act of 1997, which basically says do no harm. As long as we do no harm, we're in good. So again, I can keep repeating this, as long as we do not go beyond our training. The issue is we have a number of people in our group that are doctors, nurses, pharmacists. I'm a mechanical engineer myself. So some of our training takes us into various avenues where we can provide additional help. Our key that we look for is safety first. Our number one goal is to go home in the condition that we were deployed before. And our number one obligation is to the families and to ourselves, okay? So when we're on scene and actually working, the key thing we need to do is safety first for ourselves. We do not need to be another victim for the fire or someone else to have to take on. So we're support. We know what we're trained and capable of doing, and we'll touch on that a little bit. Our education, our training is in preparedness. And again, we're trained what to do before, during, and after a disaster. So we take 9 units like how to properly respond, because there is a way of properly responding. Fire safety, what can we do and what can't we do as far as safety? Light search and rescue. We've been called upon, didn't go, but when the little boy in St. Pete was lost and needed to be found, they had contacted us and we were ready to go the next morning to go down and help them do a search and rescue. We do a picnic every year, and this last year we were at the Millennium Park. And that's kind of like wilderness when you think about it. And we actually did a search and rescue exercise there, which was very enlightening. A lot of us showed up ready for picnics, so when you try to do search and rescue, we weren't as prepared as what we thought we should be. And then we're trained in medical disaster. The term we use is triage. We do not do first aid unless we've had first aid, but what we try to basically do is make sure that we're ready. Now we train new members a couple times a year. And this past May and June, we had a chance to work with the Civil Air Patrol in Clearwater. And we just graduated. We started out with 28 members. We graduated 11. It's a tough program to get through. And so as a result, the Clearwater Fire Department is going to form a team CERT there. So we feel very good and proud about being able to contribute there. So where do we fit in? Basically, is that the one? Nope. Am I behind? Where do we fit in? Okay. Basically, the vision, involvement, and the strong belief of Prior Chief Heather Burford. She's the one that got us going. So we're linked to the fire department, therefore we're linked to the city, and then therefore we're linked to Pinellas County Emergency Management. So that's our structure type of thing. We're not a 501(c) organization. We don't financially have activity. So the city, through the fire department, sponsors us. And we've done a number of grants, and we have you'll see in a minute, a CERT trail, a number of things that we've done so we can actually respond. How do we operate? Okay, basically we're an organization. It's a FEMA-trained program manager. It's currently the fire chief. We're looking at training other members to become program managers, and we have a 7-member board of directors, and we serve staggered 2 years, so even in odd years. We have a president, myself right now, a vice president, and I think you met Devin Blackburn. She's our current vice president. We have a treasurer. We have a past president. Diane's a past president. and we have a secretary, and we have 2 at-large members. So that 7-member board gets an odd number, so odd numbers means you can vote properly type of thing. We use work groups, and I'll go into that in the next slide. And then we have the city SOGs, which I'll go into that, and bylaws that we operate under. Basically, key things that we try to do the most good for the most people as quickly as possible. And that sounds nice little acronym, but that means also if we go on a scene and there's someone that doesn't look like they're not going to make it, we're not going to spend all our time there. Okay, we may spend our time on what we call the green, the yellows, and the reds type thing. And so what we're talking about is a green is a person, you can hear my voice, therefore you can come to me and you can actually assist. A yellow is a person that has minor injuries. A red is a severe injured person. That will probably get our first attention. And black, unfortunately, means you're not going to make it. That situation. So I touched a little bit on our procedures and our leadership. Basically, we have bylaws. They're team and board of director oriented. There's 11 sections to them, and they cover things like our membership requirements. To stay as a current member, you need to train every single year. If you make it to our meetings, we have training every single meeting. We have Robert's Rule of Order, so we're not a bunch of groups yelling and screaming. You got to have some order. We have our training requirements, our activation. Again, we do not self-activate type of thing. We're activated by the chief. We have election guidelines, our missions, that kind of stuff. We also have the city SOGs, which are the standard operating guidelines. They're city and fire rescue specific, and they provide guidance to us as an organization on what the city and the fire department is looking for us. We use work groups, and I touched on it earlier. Basically, a work group is an organization tool. It multiplies our leadership because we get committee leaders, and it's an avenue to get involved. We have 3 categories of work groups. We have admin committees, readiness task force, and response team. We have 6 admin committees. They involve like planning, training, communications, membership, social, and social media. We have 4 readiness teams, and it sounds like alphabet soup. EOC, Emergency Operations Center. POD, point of use, point of distribution. And then special needs. We, during Hurricane Ian and Irma, have been called upon to do what we call special needs evacuations. Those are usually citizens that are electrical or oxygen dependent, and therefore as a hurricane hits, both those cases, they need to go to a center where they can happen and be put. And we do community education, like what we're doing here tonight, okay? In response team, we have 4 pilots. We have 4 drone licensed pilots, Part 107 pilots on our team, and we can actually go on scene to a fire. Of course, the fire department gets the 4 views of the building, but we can go up in the air and actually give them a view of what's going on. And a number of us have actually done that. The other thing we did was interesting is that as the city tries to do its insurance, we have inspected all the roofs of every city building, and Chief Burford at the time actually used it with the insurance company and got the maintenance building new roof put on because she was able to show just how bad it was. And then we have a firefighter rehab team. And that basically means when a firefighter goes on scene, a 200-pound firefighter in all of his gear weighs over 300 pounds. On scene, they can go 15, 20, 25 minutes max. Then they can need to come out, get their vitals taken, get the gear off, return to a normal state before they go back in to fight a fire. And that's why a lot of times you'll see, why is there so many firefighters here? Well, as they gear up and go out. So we actually provide that level of support to them. And we have teams that do day shift, night shift, basically whatever we can try to do. And if you ever mention firefighter rehab to a firefighter, they give you thumbs up because we're like a lifeguard for them. So how do we know when to activate? How do we know when to go? Well, basically the weather. If there's blue skies outside, you'll probably see us in our shirts and activities, supporting rec center activities, supporting parades and stuff. Whenever we have the holiday boat parade, we're along the road trying to keep you from crossing the street and activities. And we do support a lot of Becky Gunther's and the rec center activities type things. So when it's blue skies, we do open house, we do parades. We get involved with the Kiwanis Breakfast Club with the Field of Honor. We participate in getting that put up. And again, because we're drone pilots, We go up in the air and take pictures of everything that's going on and give it to them and then give it to the mayor for the city as well. So those are nice, bright sunshine days. When the skies are gray, basically we provide real-world response. The storm is either coming or it's here. And we have responded, like I said earlier, in Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Ian. And we're getting ready again this year. We've done a lot of practice and readiness exercise to make sure that we're ready to go start up the ELC, man it if we need to, but especially do special needs evacuations. And God forbid, if we do have a problem here, we also can set up a point of distribution if there is a need for that as well. So that's kind of the activities we do there. On our equipment, the picture on the left is a response trailer. We purchased that through a grant. It can provide 6 key functions. It's a passive cooling station. We have fans in there that can help cool people down. We can provide light first aid. We have the ability to do hydration and rehab type things. And we can do dark operations, which means we have generator in there and all type of battery operated equipment, so we can actually light the way if we need to. It's also a command station for search and rescue, and if we need to do a point of use collection or distribution. Because we've actually done point of use collection. During COVID, we were at Walsingham Park collecting PPE to give back to first responders in the hospitals. So we manned a station there as well. And then pictured on the right-hand side is what we call a pod runner. It's a mini version of the trailer. It can actually be hooked to the back of a personal vehicle, and we can go out and quickly respond. And then in the middle, like what's in front of the podium here, is this kind of gear that we wear. It's a quick way of identifying. You can't miss us. If you see us in this, that's CERT, and you know we're there to do a job type of thing. So it kind of brings attention to what we do. So how can all of you get involved? Basically, what I like to use the words are talking, asking, and planning. So talk to your friends and family about hazards. I'll have some, I assume you'll have some questions, and I'll have some questions for you coming up towards the end of it. So ask questions of what the emergency plan is. Who knows what the fire department, what the city plans to do? You know, try to find out what's going on. And then again, review and a plan. Now, one of the things we're very proud of is that we at the Chamber of Mr. Seminole, obviously Tom Barnhorn, we were the recipient of the 2022 Community Contributor Award, and we feel very strongly about that. So we feel good about that. So lastly, I want to thank you for listening to what I had to say, your kind attention. What I'm trying to do is hopefully we've had a chance to enlighten you a little bit. I didn't want to talk a lot about. Hopefully you know more about us, who we are, and how we can help you help yourself, because that's what it's all about. So let's open up to questions, and I have Abe and Tom and others here. Yes, sir.
Hey, Ray, it sounds like it's quite a great program. Could you enlighten us over the last maybe year or so, or maybe more? What's the one event or situation that you people are most proud of in doing in this whole scheme that you've got? What is the thing that you're most proud of?
Well, during Hurricane Irma, myself and Diane Piscopo manned the emergency response station. We manned a citizens information center, which means if you called in, we took your information, we'd get it to the proper people and get out.
For communications.
Yeah. The other thing we did, obviously, is the special needs citizens evacuation. We picked them up and transported them.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, and then we actually went back to their home, make sure it was safe for them to go home afterwards. They had electricity and water.
Did you use your personal vehicles for that? It's okay.
Sorry.
There's water down there for you.
Yeah, water.
Pickup and delivery back to their homes occurred with buses. When we reviewed the status of the streets and everything to see that there were no trees down, and electricity was there, we did an observation and determined whether or not it was going to be safe for them to go back. That was in personal vehicles.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we use school buses. My wife and I went along with a firefighter and of course the bus driver. And we had people that had like an oxygen generator or something, which for me was challenging to lift it up. You have a strong firefighter and then you have a weak guy to get it up in the bus. But people, if they had wheelchairs and stuff like that, what was really nice is some of them ended up going to Oak Grove to get in there. And when we went into this is the first one, not the most recent one, but they had food in there set up for them, and just really made them feel at home as much as possible. I know a challenge now is for pets, where can you take your pets to? But to me, the other deal is communicating what you need, that person who has the needs, communicating that to the EOC so that they know what they need to send to get the person in and out safely. That's a challenge.
We've also been trained to receive communication up at the EOC with working on actually in the sheriff's department, in the hall, and simulations on how to respond when people call in, and yeah, we've had quite a bit of practice with that.
To go off of what Abe said about pets, I think Pinellas Park is the only CERT team that does pet situations.
They're supposed to make more places available, we were told,
Okay.
for pets, and,
Well, just the training of it.
okay, that
There
I'm
was
not
a
sure.
training. I know probably the time that I probably went through CERT originally with you, Abe, at that time Pinellas Park had a pet training with their CERT. So,
One of our members, Jeff Schraub, has actually gone to Pinellas Park after being with us. He became a trained program manager, a trained trainer, and so he actually helped get them going. I think it's actually Largo High School, since they rebuilt it, is now a Category 5 building, and I think they have pet provisions there as well.
Yeah.
So we'll get in that.
it'd be great if it was added to, I mean, I don't know about what you guys think, but I just think it'd be great, add more information for Seminole.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure, do we answer your questions? sir?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Oh, anybody else but no? Go ahead, Rena.
Now, you have a neighbor or something that you know is special needs. Who do they notify, and do they notify like the fire department in advance that they are one of the people that need assistance? Or do they do it when the storms come?
Every year, we have a database of those individuals that have special needs and what their needs are. And every year, in about the May timeframe, we'll do an exercise of making sure that when they still live here, they're still alive, number one, type situations, and update. So we get people added to and removed, and there's like a broadcast that goes out. So there's an Everbridge notice, that's one of our notification systems, that goes out to the thing, and we do mailers, and there's a lot of activities to get into the database as well as narrow down the database.
So we were responsible at one point in time, I believe, Seminole CERT and all that, our fire department, and now Pinellas County's taking that over, I understand?
Pinellas County has gone automated, but we still provide assistance to that.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we didn't say here is that Seminole, as you know, because you follow historically here, the Seminole has about 18,500 people. Seminole Fire Department services 110,000 people. So we actually service a much greater area, so beyond actually the city's boundaries. City boundaries are kind of disjointed when you look at it, not continuous. And you've been very patient in that, thank you.
And the emergency operations center that you guys are manning, that is just a local one then? And the phone number, I'm guessing, is always the same?
Yes.
The
So two
citizens.
things, it's a Category 5 building, it's over next to Station 29 off of 70th and 113th. It's not a place for you to evacuate because people in there that are actually working on things, so there's no markings that tell you what it is, okay? But that is actually capable of surviving. It has its own generator, has its own water supply, it has hand radios, it has all this stuff, has a satellite form, communication goes down. So the satellite form has the ability to do all types of communications. And then there are computers that are hooked to the county building. So something we call a web ELC. It's a database where they collect information. So they collect information that can be sent to us so that we can go out and help Seminole committee, we can collect information to go to them saying, we need more resources here. Does that help?
Yes.
We receive calls from citizens during the actual event. We're a receiving station, and we pass that urgency or that need on
Is that
to
routed through,
the city personnel.
is that routed through like 911 or something, or how does it?
No, it's a citizens
Yeah,
community center phone number. It's a specific one, and it's only activated during the course of a hurricane.
Okay,
if you look on the city's website, under the emergency management, you'll see that number there. And
Okay.
it currently exists at City Hall, but when there's an issue, it's moved to the ELC.
Okay.
Yes.
I got a whole bunch of
Yep,
questions.
that's good. We want this.
How long does the training take to become a member of the CERT
Good
team?
question.
8 years,
In
8
the
years.
past, it was 7 Wednesdays, 7 weeks of activities. We've narrowed it down because the University of Utah, and Michelle remembers going through that, University of Utah has done a lot of the training online. So we work with the University of Utah, so we basically do the hands-on portion. So we start off on the first, this last one, we started off on the second week in May. We had a Saturday session, basically showed them how to do Zoom if they don't know how to get onto the website, and then we did fire extinguisher training, okay? Then we actually gave them modules that they needed to complete by the first Zoom meeting, and then modules complete by the second Zoom meeting, and then modules to complete for the last hands-on. That last hands-on, they go through what they call disaster medical, we go through triage exercise, we do head-to-toe assessments, and we do victim carry and victim extraction. And then we actually go out and do those drills. So you put out a fire, go into a building that's dark to try to figure out how to find the victim, assess what their primary injuries are, see if you can extract them to a location where they can get some additional medical help as well.
So how long did that take, how many weeks?
That was a month, that way, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
I would
Usually
say
seven.
it's not just for adults like us. My daughter did it, she was in college at the time.
Yeah.
And she's on the crime scene team for Fort Myers Police Department, and that was a really great thing to have on her resume. So if you have young adults that are interested in police or fire or public health safety, it's a great program for them. Just a great way to learn a little bit about this.
Thank you, our number one advertiser right there. Thank you, Michelle. Well, actually, like I said earlier, the cadets, they were teenagers, they were people looking at whether military careers was right for them. And they went through our training, and they're gonna actually start forming a team CERT with the Clearwater Fire Department, which is interesting.
When's your next one?
We're probably gonna look after hurricane season in the fall. We'll probably look at doing another one. We get better and better at it, type of thing. First one was rough, and then we got a little bit better. This last one went very well with the cadets. So I'm hoping in the fall we get a chance to do that. Yes.
One of the other activities that we make our face shown at is the open house for Engine
Oh, yes.
29. We're there, full force. We're parking, we're teaching kids, we're putting out fires with the kids, you know, it's a fun event. Things like that we really enjoy.
Yeah, because the fire department has their 3-shift operation. There obviously is the firefighters there, but we help man the open house, so it's very interesting. Tom Bonhorn puts on all of his hats, because he shows up as a CERT member helping us, and takes off his vest and goes be part of the council to the ceremonial activity, and then he comes back and helps us again, so Tom is a good member to have.
Do you have any flyers that you could leave with
Yes,
us
we
or
do.
brochures?
Diane has some, I have some, and Abe has some.
Yeah, one thing I want to share, the reason my wife and I first got involved was for first aid. Right now we have 6 grandchildren and 3 foster kids, grandchildren I would say. And my concern was if something happened to them, hey, Dad, Mom, can you watch the kids? Sure. Okay, what happens? So to be able to do things for them, and something that's been great with CERT, they continue to re-educate us. We've gone through first aid multiple times, and they continue to educate us on things to do, using an AED for your heart defibrillator. Once I learned about that, the church I was going to, I was pounding on the wall basically for them to get one, because, and then having it there so people can get to it, because that's the challenge, is you may have all this stuff available, if you don't know where it is or how to use it, what do you do? Those things are pretty easy to use, they have directions, the AED have directions in there, but again, the kids, what do you do if you have to, you know, is it this or 30 times on an adult and stuff like that? There's no more mouth to mouth unless you have a cover on there, because whatever. But the whole point is, what do you do and how do you do it? And then maintaining that educational level, that's the main thing for me. So.
That's a good point, because they talked about, normally when you did, first aid and responded, you do the mouth to mouth. Well, now they actually tell you to do chest compressions.
Yeah,
So
30
we
times.
have to-
It's
yeah,
30,
we have to get
2
started.
breaths, 32 breaths.
Yes.
I have a question. So in regards to the certification training, like you said, there's modules that you do that are online. So as far as like the hands-on piece of it, what does that encompass? Like, is it first aid, CPR, or what are some of the other trainings
It's
that are
it's
involved
the
with that?
hands-on demonstration and practical. We have a ER physician as part of my group, and he
Okay.
helps teach the medical part of it. So he does anywhere from neck and head injury all the way down through the extremities. Goes through and shows you how to make a complete assessment of a person, whether or not you can extract them and how to extract them. Because you can do a blanket carry, you can do a
Right.
chair carry, you can do a 2-person arm carry. So how are you going to get them out of there? That situation. So we go through that as well.
So you do that as well?
Yeah,
We recently
well,
did-
you-
I'm sorry.
You come into this room, it's all lit up. You come into this room and it's dark, how are you gonna do a search and rescue? We teach you how to do a dark room search and rescue, and find people. We also teach you how there are gonna be people whining and screaming type of thing. They may, because they are doing that, they're breathing, they're that thing, you gotta learn to, it sounds bad, ignore them to go look for the more serious individuals that can't yell at you type situation. You'll get to them, but obviously if they could hear you and make those kind of noises, they probably are in the yellow range or green range, and they could actually be extracted very simply, or actually help you be part of the team.
So we recently did a wound, if you're bleeding, using a tourniquet, they gave us like a brace thing to put on there, burns and stuff like that. So it's really, if you wanna, if for nothing else, I don't really care about CERT or anything else. You don't have to be part of CERT to go to the first aid and AED, but definitely look into it. It's really important, because some of us who have another special person in our life, we wanna make sure we can take care of them too, or maybe we wanna make sure that they can, go ahead and just leave it.
Well, like saying, I had no intentions of joining CERT, now I'm the president, type thing. I was just, tired of saying we're not ready for a hurricane. Once I got involved, I go, this is pretty neat. It's an easy transition from my engineering background, and I decided to get involved. Yep, okay. Any other, yes, in the back? Oh, sorry, Michelle.
That's all right.
Did you have a question in the back? Just waving?
I have one more question. So, and you may have said this, sometimes my retention is all over the map. So basically, if you became a part of this community and, with the team, do you have like certain types of duties that you fulfill as far as like shifts, like when you're a part of this? Like, is it
Good question.
a monthly commitment, or how, is it just on an as-need basis, or?
Yeah. We meet monthly, and every
Okay.
month there is some form of training. We go through notices, we let people know what's going on within the CERT community, so we have like notice information, and then we actually do a training, like this last time, we did a refresher on first aid, because there were people that thought that mouth to mouth was still the way to go, no, chest compressions, so we do that. Then we have actually 12 work groups that I explained earlier about. You can get involved in the ELC, involved in special needs evacuation. If radios are your thing, you can get involved in ham radio activity. So we have something for just about everybody that can try to do that type of thing. We've got a couple of radio nuts that just go crazy and keep us going on that. So everybody brings something to the table. It's interesting to look at the demographics within our group and to see what we have to offer. Yes, Michelle?
On July 20th, Seminole High School and Seminole Middle School are going to be, that whole quadrant's going to be closed off. The sheriff is doing a emergency response exercise. I think Bowder's actually not gonna be one of the sites, but we're not gonna be able to be on our campus. Will CERT be involved in any of that? Or could be?
Yeah, District Chief Jeremy Newton has contacted us and will be putting out information for CERT to be involved. We'll probably become victims.
Victims, yeah, they're
Yes.
looking for victims.
We'll probably become victims for that because we know how to be victims, you know. Put on
That's
that.
another training that we went through, the active shooter training.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
You should get
wow.
them in here, they're very good.
Try getting those at an elementary school.
Yeah,
when you've
oh
got
my
children.
gosh,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so intense and helpful.
My daughter's a teacher at Seminole Middle and she has to deal with a lot on our reserve.
Yes,
Background 12.
yes.
Yeah.
I bet we did the active
Yep.
shooter. And I was at Seminole Middle for 12 years long.
I don't know if City of Largo still does, but they did have a hands-on a couple years ago. My wife and I went through that. Where you were actually in there and they would tell you how to blockade a room or throw stuff at people, anything to distract them. And then we went through one with, on the beach.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, Pinellas County Sheriff's has individuals that do the active shooter training.
And then we did something next door here. Was that?
Yeah, we did it we had like 57 people at the Parkview room.
Do you still do fire, smoke alarms in
Yep.
certain buildings?
Yep, see, I could have talked forever, but we do smoke alarm
Yeah,
installation.
we do.
Diane came to us because we did, at her mobile home park, we
Yeah.
did smoke detector. She thought it was so neat, she joined us, became secretary, and
Yeah.
became president, so she got really
Yeah,
involved.
we've
But we
put
do
them
do-
in a number of the mobile home parks in
Right.
this immediate area, yeah.
What we
And
do is
it's-
the fire
Thank
department tells,
goodness, wow.
sorry, Dan. The fire tells us where their high risk areas are, and we go to those locations and assist. First aid actually, Red Cross actually provides the equipment. We do all the installation type thing.
Yeah, it was,
It is amazing to go into a home and have a person say, I don't need this, I'm fine. You test it, doesn't work. You look at it, it's not wired up. You look at it, the battery's been dead for I don't know how long, and they're feeling safe. Or they'll have a fire extinguisher. No, we got a fire extinguisher right here. You look, it's expired.
And we have access to in the event that there is an individual that's hard of hearing, we can get the equipment, and it's an apparatus attached to the phone, which will set off the alarm, which will shake the bed. If they're done. So,
Pretty amazing.
yeah, we've done that too.
what was sad for me is I went into, it wasn't a mobile home, but it was a little apartment or something. And this young fella had two young kids, and he showed me, I said, do you have a smoke detector? He goes, yeah, right there. And I took it off, it wasn't even, it was hardwired, but it wasn't connected in there. Then you had other people that had ones that were on the wall someplace, the batteries were dead. So the ones that we put in there have a 10-year battery. Basically, once it's dead, they toss it. And, but it was just sad that people think they're protected, but they're not. So-
Also, the smoke detectors we put in, because they're from the Red Cross, they're registered with the Red Cross, they know where they are, because they give them information, they know they're good for 10 years, and they'll actually follow up, which is a life-saving activity. All good questions. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
If somebody had a fire extinguisher and they think it's out of date or it needs to be, do they redo it or get a new one?
Most likely, the fire department will come and assess that for you, and they may recommend a new one versus trying to recharge it. Situation.
A lot of them are not rechargeable. If
Right.
you have one and it has like a metal screw-on part, those generally are rechargeable, but most of the ones are just disposable.
Yeah.
Some are guaranteed like for 10 years, so you really should check it. You know, of course, the pin can be pulled out, it's already been lost. One other thing you're supposed to do, and I'm gonna say I'm guilty, I don't do this all the time, is to take your fire extinguisher over, turn it upside down, and use like a rubber mallet or something, pound it, because all that powder sits at the bottom, so then it gets sort of, let's say, chunky and stuff like that. So, but if anybody belongs to Costco, and I'm serious about this, Costco periodically will sell their 5 ABC whatever extinguisher for about $35 to $40. It's a really good deal, much less expensive than Home Depot or Lowe's, and they're great. Plus, they have their smoke detectors too. So don't wait for us to come around. check your fire extinguishers, you know. My kids, son-in-law and daughter who had the 3 foster kids, they had to have their house inspected and have the card put on there and all that, and have to do that every year. Whereas individually, it's up to us what we do.
So I actually have 7 quick questions that I want to ask you that would help you become more prepared for a hurricane. You ready? Okay. So where will you meet your family? You know, you always talk about, we're all at home. Well, what if you're not at home? Have you established a location where you'll meet your family, especially if you can't stay in your home? Don't have to answer, but that's something you need to talk about. Who is your out-of-state contact? Why do you need an out-of-state contact?
All your stuff is destroyed.
Maybe learned that with Hurricane Katrina, and families coming to Pinellas County and wanting to register children.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, we take them with nothing.
Right.
But if you have, and I learned that then, that to make sure that our house documents, birth certificate, immunization, whatever it is at the time, was out of state, and an extra copy.
Because that person can help disseminate to everybody else, because there's nothing worse being here in Florida, knowing the hurricane's coming, and everybody's trying to call you or type of thing. If they never call Michelle, because she's in a location, and Michelle talks to me and say, Ray's okay, then that's the way to do it. Will you shelter in place or will you evacuate? When do you make that decision, right? Are you capable of sheltering in place where you are? Seminole's pretty high and dry, right? Where, have you ever gone through, there's an interesting video if you get to see it. It's called the Phoenix, Project Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's actually put on by Julie Phillips, is one of the speakers on there, which I think is one of your founding members, your mother type situation. It's excellent. It is eye-opening to see what would happen in Pinellas County if Category 5 hit. Just to give you a heads up, there's a spot in St. Pete, most of Seminole, and then you have to be above Sunset Road. Otherwise, everything else is underwater and gone.
What is the name? You said Julie Phillips, is it Gordon Phillips' daughter?
Yes.
She's a meteorologist.
The meteorologist.
Granddaughter.
Granddaughter.
So is it like on YouTube or something?
Yes, it is. It is called
That'd be
Project Phoenix.
interesting to see.
Project Phoenix, excellent. Share it with the group. It's eye-opening. When I first went through this training, I saw that. I go, we're not ready. Not even close.
So I do have a question. So I don't know if this is, I mean, this may not be your area of expertise. Did they ever have any like forecasting? I mean, of course, we all know when Irma happened. We really didn't know. I mean, like I tried evacuating up to North Florida. They were bringing people from South Florida who came over here, and then it wasn't going that way and this way. I mean, you know, obviously Pinellas County, it's almost impossible to get out of Pinellas County because of the structure being a peninsula and such. So, are they ever trying to like make forecasts of like, you know, when is it really ideal to?
CERT, because we're part of CERT, and part of the Seminole Fire Department, we
Right.
receive notifications all the time.
Right.
And so my neighbors know to reach out to me to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because how many times have we saw where the storm had a direct hit
Right.
in the Tampa Bay area, and then gone south of us or north of us?
Right.
I mean,
When the watch is listed,
yes.
there's a watch and a warning.
Right.
The watch is pay attention. The warning is move.
Yeah, so
Right.
if
So
you're-
really, in a lot of cases, I mean, you'd stay and you don't think, okay, this is just gonna blow over. But honestly, if it's really, when it is the warning and really considering being in Pinellas County, you really should go. Correct? I mean,
This may sound a little funny. My neighbor, when I first moved here, they go, "You don't have to worry here." I go, "Why?" Because Chief Osceola.
Oh, yeah,
You ever heard that? You heard that
It's
story?
in the paper recently.
Yeah. Chief Osceola blessed this area, and Seminole does not have to worry.
It is ironic
How many
storms pass us up.
we do this?
We had friends that, oh, we're going to Orlando, and then it hit Orlando.
Yeah.
Same here.
We're on the ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, Ridge Road for a reason.
Yeah.
Exactly. The other thing, I'm sorry, another question? Oh, yes, sir.
Well, it's more of a comment.
Sure.
Most people don't realize is even if you're in a nice high place and you survive the storm, we might be isolated here for 3, 4, 5, 6 months before they get a road back open.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the aftermath.
It's the aftermath.
Right.
Because the Skyway Bridge is gonna be gone.
Yep.
If what had hit in Port Charlotte had hit here, the Gandy would be gone.
Yes.
The Howard Franklin would have been gone.
Right.
60 would have been gone. There's no way to get food, water, and gasoline back into the county.
That was actually one of my questions. What's your evacuation plan? Oh, I'm gonna get on the Howard Franklin and go, well, it's not there. So now you're talking about how can I get up through, you know, Newport, Ritchie and whatever to get out of here.
Well, thank goodness we do have land, we can.
We can't go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not complete island, it just seems like it. Okay, so yeah, we need to have alternative routes, because what you're thinking about, Sunshine Skyway is not there. Howard Franklin's not done, Cambridge's not there. So those things. And then the other thing to think about is your mode of transportation and travel, right? Oh, I got my car, or I got my SUV, and I'm ready to go. Tree just fell on it. Now, how are you gonna get out of here? So you have to have alternative ways of thinking about how to travel. And then, you know, obviously, we all should have plans. Will you practice it? If you develop a disaster plan, do you practice it? That's it. But hopefully those questions help stimulate, along with the questions you asked, how to start thinking about hurricane preparedness.
And when lines go down, that means computers don't work. That means you need to have your tank filled with gas, and you have to have cash on hand. Okay, so those are critical things to think ahead.
Say if your phones work and your camera works, take pictures of you and your grandkids, take
Yeah.
pictures of you and your pets, because how are you gonna prove that they're yours? You know, the kid may not be old enough to really know what to do, so, and take pictures of your home before, and if you have to, after.
My kids, I don't want to.
I saw something posted, and I don't know if it's true or not. If your phones go down, like lose power, if people try to get a hold of you, your voicemail will still work?
Your texting still
The
works.
texting.
The
Text didn't
Yeah,
work.
texting is a part of the phone system that actually will still work.
Even if your phone's
They
down.
can't
Yes.
talk, but the text will.
Even though you can't call on your phone, you see no bars, texting will still work.
It's if Raymond, like if you go on a cruise, you
Yes.
can't call, but you can text.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same thing,
Same thing.
yes.
What do you call to get the medical training that you mentioned? Is it the?
The fire department,
Well, actually, on the City of Seminole's website, there is a specific tab on there.
Yeah.
It talks about the first aid and AED training, yes.
City of Seminole.
My,
website.
you know,
Yeah, yeah.
myseminole.com, if you get onto that website, it has all of the listing, shows us there as well.
So they have regular programs for?
Yes,
Every month.
yeah, Thursday, I think, is for the CPR, and I think Wednesday is the first aid training.
And are those open for regular
Everybody,
citizens, or
It's
do you have
open
to
for
be
everyone.
registered?
Nope.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
everyone.
everybody.
We happen to have a couple of our personnel trained to,
We actually have 4
Certified
members
people.
that, to Diane's point, we actually have 4 members that are trained CPR first aid trainers.
they used to give us a card, and I understand we don't get cards
No,
anymore.
we don't get cards anymore.
So if you don't get a card, like, well, how do I know? Well, here's a certificate, so.
All good questions, and hopefully I ask questions. And hopefully, like I said, I could talk all night, because I'm really excited about what we do. But hopefully I gave you a flavor for what we do. The pamphlet will get you linked to more information. And I'm glad I have Michelle here to help.
Yes, thank you, Michelle.
Anything else?